Welcome back to Men and Motors, and today we're looking at the Kia EV6 GT line. It's safe to say that this Kia really is something from the future, and it's got something that us men tend to love in life, and that is big, wide curves, as well as a few jagged edges, you know what I mean. But take the car for instance, it's rather wide at the bottom, it's narrow at the top, you're getting that hourglass sort of figure with it, and then you've got these little sharp flicks on the wing mirrors, you've got the snouty lights down below, you've got the lowered front end, and you've got the jagged splitter at the bottom. And it pulls the looks off really well, and it does turn a lot of heads. One piece of design I think that's worth mentioning is this little flick here. It reminds me of a whale's tail, and more specifically a humpback whale's tail, how it arches at the back and the weight of it kind of bends down. But obviously because this car's got that quite cutting edge at the top and the hourglass figure at the bottom, it just gives it that big, mean, aggressive look, and it makes you feel like when you accelerate, the back of the car is going to hammer down and just shoot and slingshot forward. One other thing that is lovely about it, at night there's a little LED light in here, so when you unlock the car it beams a beautiful bit of cool white light down onto this pearlescent metallic paint, and you just get that glimpse of glitter in your face. I think it's marvellous. The GT line comes with 19-inch alloys as standard, which I am quite a fan of, because when you put big wheels on cars you tend to get big problems such as road noise, stiffness when hitting potholes, but this has also got the look but a really nice cushioned ride, meaning that when you're driving it, it's ever so silent. Kia and Hyundai are really killing it with the colours at the moment, because from a distance you would say this car is solid white, and it isn't. Up close you've got a lovely nice glimpse of glitter, and it is actually pearlescent, very similar to the Hyundai Ioniq 6 where it looks like a Nardo grey, which is obviously an Audi colour, or primer grey as we'd refer to it, and that is also pearlescent because they are owned by the same group. Hyundai own Kia and they also own Genesis, but this car, you have to hand it to them, it looks beautiful, especially with the black accents down here, and then if you open the handle, I mean, weird design to say the least, very weird, but it works. Not only is it powered by a 77.4 kilowatt battery, it's got a single rear wheel drive motor, and you can't do any skids because there's lag when you set off, but it is very powerful. So powerful, in fact, it's pushing out 226 brake horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you do the maths on it and you actually go into it, the power to weight ratio and the horsepower per ton is 113, give or take, bhps per 1000 kgs. And when you're moving and there's something in your way, or you're on the motorway and you want to go for an overtake, you only have to squeeze your toes, like literally squeeze them, and the car just rockets forward, which is surprising from something that weighs 2 tons and is only 226 horsepower. There are other iterations of this. You can get a dual motor car which is around 300 horsepower, and then if you get the GT model, it is 600 horsepower or thereabouts. And you've got to look at it, this car is a little bit bigger than a Volkswagen Golf, and if you look at a Volkswagen Golf, their Golf R is 309 horsepower. So for something to have 600 horsepower that's direct drive, which is power like no other, absolutely blows my mind. But we might as well move on to the back, or more specifically, the booty. This booty is 490 litres, and to put that into perspective, I'm going to get in it. I'm 6'3", I'm about 16 stone because I like, you know, the odd lager, obviously not when driving, and yeah, let's demonstrate this. So if I get in, you should be able to close yourself in nice and neat like this. Not that this has any relevance whatsoever to the actual size of the boot, it's just that I'm a large object getting into a large boot. But if you do want more space, this car has something called a frunk, which I'm only assuming comes from the Americans calling this a trunk. And a frunk is something in the front. Now, if you don't know what a frunk is, prepare to be amazed. I was amazed to a certain degree, but you basically pop the bonnet, or the hood, if you're American, if we're really on that terminology, and if you lift this up, you actually have an engine. No, you don't. This is fake. You lift this, and there you have your frunk. Now I know I climbed in the boot, but I'm telling you now, I am not climbing in there because I feel like I'll break something, and quite frankly, I don't fit. Don't ask me how I know though. This adds around 70 litres of storage space to your EV6. However, I think Kia have missed a trick with this, so bear with me. Why isn't it a fridge? Hear me out. You take this car on a road trip, you're driving all day, you've had to charge up a couple of times, you get to your destination in the Scottish Highlands, you pull up next to Loch Lomond, you're going to do a bit of wild camping, your tent's set up, the fire's going, and what do you want most? A freezing cold bottle of lager. I know I keep mentioning lager. Trust me, I don't have an issue, I just like lager. But you pull up, you sit down, you open this, you lift it up, and it just gleams with the golden colour of lager with all the droplets coming off, and it would be amazing. You could also keep your meats in there, your sausages, your bacon, your steaks, your chicken, pork, ready for the barbecue. I must admit though, if there was bottles in there, I think the jingling as you're driving would really do your head in, but come on Kia, make it a fridge. Now, enough of the outside, it's about time we had a look at the inside because it's rather spacious and it's quite simply lovely. What you get inside this car is a massive screen. Only when you turn the power on you realise it's actually split into two screens, one for the clocks and the driver information, the other for the sat-nav, infotainment and everything else. But one thing I do love is this centre console. It's absolutely massive. It has huge cubby holes, even more things that could be a fridge in this car. It has all this leg room here, very, very spacious. And I'm quite tall and I have the chair really far back and you can still fit a 6'3" human behind me. All in all, it's very lovely. How about we hit the road and take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Although this car only has 226 bhp, but a whopping 350 Newton meters of torque, it is quite pokey considering it's 2 tons. I did mention this earlier, but I'm in eco mode at the moment and it's cruising along. We're getting about 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. That's probably because I've got a heavy right foot. But if I just press this button here and change the drive mode to sport and let these cars get out of the way, I'll show you what the acceleration is like. And it's like this. Oh, this is so fast. What? Oh my. This is a fast EV and it is so fun to drive. I mean, we're on a national speed limit road right now and just it sticks to the corners. You can't really see what's going on, but with it being rear wheel drive, you'd expect it to be quite, you know, slidey, and it really isn't. Not that I've tried sliding it, but you just feel the back end go and you don't. You feel the push right behind you. It's so quick. I mean, like there now, just look at right, and brake. This is brilliant. The other thing is, this car round town boasts a 460 mile range. And what that means is city driving. And that's when you have the regenerative braking set to the highest resistance. Right now it's on level 3. If I whack it up to level 4 and I completely let go of the accelerator, you ready? 3, 2, 1. You're near enough come to a complete stop and then you accelerate and you're away again. And what that actually does is it charges the battery of the car by putting resistance onto the motor. I'm not quite sure with the science of how it actually works, but in theory that is exactly how it works. I don't understand the maths behind it, but by slowing the car down, the forward energy puts resistance onto the motor, which then charges the battery, gaining extra miles, which means that you get the 460 mile range in city mode, but in combined, you know, motorway miles, it says a range of 360 miles, but having lived with this car for around a week, I've been getting about 280 out of a charge. With that said though, I haven't been charging it all the way up to 100%. I've been unplugging it at around 95% because if you ever charged an electric vehicle before, you'd be well aware that the last 5, 4, 3% just takes ages and it isn't worthwhile. But I can't complain because it's so fun to drive, especially when you give it a poke like that. It is brilliant. The other perk with EVs is that you can actually whisper to your passengers and they can hear everything in the car because of how quiet they are. And I mean, they're so quiet. You can hear a pin drop. This car is so comfortable to drive. I mean, it's just relaxing, and it relaxes me so much that I feel like you could fall asleep. It's got comfortable seats that grip you, that it's cushioned, there's no road noise, there's no tyre roar, there's nothing. It is literally so quiet to drive and it's joyous, which brings me on to say, when you're feeling a little bit tired, it has this other unknown feature where you can utilise a little bit of exercise. And before you guess, no, the car isn't just going to magically turn itself into a treadmill. It has this amazing feature which involves me getting something out of the boot. This EV6 has something called vehicle to load technology, which means if you grab yourself a heavy electric bike such as this, you can charge it whilst driving, meaning that you should be able to go and get some exercise. And when you do come back, you can fold it up and stick it back on charge using the vehicle to load technology. You see, this is the beautiful thing about Manchester. You get this lovely sunny weather which lasts about 5 minutes and then the rain starts to draw in. What a place. Come up north, you'll love it, Jim. Whilst we're up here, I may as well talk to you about the back of the car. It is very, very spacious. It's also very premium. I'm 6'3" and this driver's seat is currently in the position that I drive in. And as you can see, I've got a nice amount of leg room. Headroom is a little bit compromised, but it's just enough to get comfortable, especially for a man that's quite tall and also a bit wide, if I must admit. You do get a lovely little armrest that's leather, 2 cup holders in it. Would be nice, you know, if they flicked out, so you could have that as a bit of a writing bench, but then again, I'm just getting picky. You do get a USB-C socket here and a USB-C socket in that seat, and then the best thing is, when you pull up into an area like this and you think, I could really murder a cup of tea. Well, if you come down here and pull this lever open, there is a 16 amp, 230 volt domestic socket, meaning that you could plug a kettle in and boil the water from your car, which I think is fantastic because as a Mancunian and someone from up north, I love a cup of tea. The other thing you do get as well is air conditioning in the back. You've got these little vents here, and you can adjust them and blow them in your face, which is rather nice. Lovely, lovely, smooth, perforated fabric, and it smells lovely. It smells brand new. I've just sniffed where someone's bum has been. Probably not a wise decision. But yeah, very premium space, 2 little grab handles here and here if you want to start doing pull-ups. Not that you would. Lovely center console finish, leather, premium, sound system's fantastic, and then you do get 2 little foot heaters at the bottom. Not really much more to show you guys other than the fact that it would make a great family car. Lots of space, very spacious, no transmission tunnel in the way, I must add. Very flat, very smooth. All in all, I approve. I should probably talk more about the interior of this car. It comes standard with ambient lighting. You get these lovely like fabric seats, but like perforated fabric with a bit of leather on the sides, these curvy headrests which remind me a little bit of a Volvo. You've got all these touchscreen buttons here. One thing I do think it's lacking is I'm not a massive fan of touchscreens in cars, and the reason for that is when you're on a bumpy road like this and you're trying to select the screen, you might be going to type a postcode in and you might put AB and it comes up NM. I know you shouldn't be doing that while you're driving, but it's force of habit, and you'd be lying if you said you didn't do it, because every single human tries to put a postcode in whilst they're driving. It's because we're impatient. But Touchscreens are quite annoying to use, especially if you're trying to do something intricate on the screen. One thing I would have liked is a little twist knob down here, just like the drive selector, but more to control the screen. One other great thing is this. Your mobile phone, if it supports wireless charging, you literally sit it on this pad, it starts charging, a little yellow bar lights up down here, your phone charges wirelessly. One thing it doesn't do is have wireless Apple CarPlay. Now again, I think that's a trick that's been missed. You can buy aftermarket devices to do that, but I hate aftermarket electrical mods. I just think they look tacky, they don't look the best, and quite frankly, it could be integrated in this Kia EV6. You get a rear reversing camera, and when you reverse, it bongs, it goes boo, 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 boo. And it does sound quite cool, and the camera is quite crisp. It's a bit washed out contrast wise on the colour, which you'll see here, and I just personally think it could be a bit better. On the Hyundai Ioniq 6, which me and Jim did a video on, where we drove to 5 countries in 1 day on 1 charge. Callum, link it here, collaborative content, you know the drill. The screen's a bit better, but they do run on the same sort of technology. Steering wheel, 2-spoke, rather pretty. I didn't like this at first, but it has grown on me. Flappy paddles, not for changing gears, because this car's direct drive, which means it's just 1 speed, 1 gear ratio, and it's gradual. But the flappy paddles control the regenerative braking. The left one, the more you press it, the more resistance is on when you let off the accelerator. The right one, the more you press that, the more freewheeling it does, and the more the car rolls. You do get adaptive cruise control as standard with the car. You get lane keeping assist, and you also get steering assist when you're on the motorway. So if you want to change lanes, obviously it won't do it around a corner as sharp as this, but if you want to change lanes, if you don't indicate and you try to turn out the lane, it'll fight the steering wheel and chuck you back over into the lane that you should be in. The Hyundai Ioniq 6 does actually change lanes for you. I'm not sure whether that's an option on this Kia. I've not really found out. If it is, drop us a comment, let me know. We'll be always keen to hear your feedback. One thing I want to show you is what this car looks like at night. A lot of people skip over this in reviews, and it's something that I always consider when buying a car, is what it actually looks like when it goes dark. And the reason for that is the atmosphere completely changes in the car. It gets to the point where you get LED lights coming on, backlit buttons, like different bits in the floor, and it can feel quite moody and quite cozy. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. You can change all the colours to custom colours, whatever you want. You've got all the white lights, the LED lights on the outside look fantastic. You put the indicators on this scroll. It just looks premium and pretty. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, because myself and Jim have got some cracking content coming over the next couple of months in Men and Motors, and we want you guys to be a part of it. If you're looking for something else to watch, click up here to watch Jim's review of the Honda Civic, and click down here to see what Richard Hammond thought of Kia over 20 years ago. But with that said, guys, I will see you next time.